The future and circumstance have taken its toll on North State Street. The future, rushing in like the traffic on Old 81. Circumstance, as in the ever-encroaching expansion of the nearby St. Joseph's Hospital. From James Street on the south end to East Laurel on the north.
So that was a very busy neighborhood.
Remember, this was 81 at the time. This was Route 11.
The Nave brothers, Chuck, Marty, and Dennis, grew up here in the 1950s and 60s. You'll never convince them that the more things change, the more they stay the same.
When I look at North State Street today, a lot of the businesses are gone. There's a lot of empty land.
At one time, it was the kind of neighborhood where everybody knew your name. Now, there are no names.
Piero's Funeral Home was in a 500 block in North State Street. Across the street, Piero Hall, Dr. Gugino and Dr. Scrippo, the dentist, they were up there.
Maybe you attended St. John's Catholic Academy, where the sisters laid down the law.
Corporal punishment wasn't off the table in those days, I can tell you that. So they kept kids in line pretty easily. Nuns always had rulers. They were going to hit some kid in your hand. Sometimes they used to use and I forgot what you call these huge sticks that you lifted, the huge windows that went up like 2 floors, and they would occasionally use those if it got really serious. By the time we got to high school, I don't ever remember seeing anybody ever get hit, but I saw a lot of it in grammar school, up through 8th grade. I don't know if the rules changed or it was just like, it's too late. These guys are already in high school. They ain't gonna do any good anyway.
Or perhaps you stood up straight for the brothers at Christian Brothers Academy.
To our right, north of us, was St. John the Evangelist. So they would hang out the window, and we're standing in line, and we got to be nice and quiet while the brothers are talking to us, and they're waving at us and going like this, and making fun of us.
I was okay, but I wasn't good enough to play first team for CB. I was second team quarterback.
Oh, neat.
And when the score would be 35-0, I would get into play.
Nettleton is not there anymore.
The 1879 A.E. Nettleton Shoe Factory has been converted into retail and residential space.
So I can always remember that whistle at 6 in the morning. Be the thing, wake up and I go, oh God, I don't have to get up.
And across the street, the 1855 Church of the St. John Evangelist is now a repurposed soup kitchen. A much better fate than its beautiful rectory, now boarded up and abandoned.
Before the hospital took over the even side of North State Street, before they tore all those houses down, they were all big homes.
Mister, you can build your concrete walls. You can take it away, take it all away. But you'll never take away what remains in the heart.
My roots began at Syracuse when my great-grandfather, Francesco Romano, immigrated here at the beginning of the 20th century. And he lived in an apartment at 513 North State Street, which eventually the Nave Romano Salmo family all lived, between the 400 and 500 blocks of North State Street.
Francesco's daughter was this sweet young thing.
Mariannina Romano Nave. She Americanized it into Marian.
In 1917, Marian and the barber Luigi Nave took their marriage vows at St. Peter's Church. The Nave family was from Newark, New Jersey. Luigi's branch had moved to Syracuse while their relatives stayed behind in the Garden State.
And eventually they bought this building.
The building was at 404 North State Street.
He says, well, you know, we're going to live upstairs. I got the barber shop here, and we'll have the grocery store. So my grandmother would run the grocery store. So one evening came, the store was closed. Grandpa wanted to eat. He loved his linguine and then wanted to play music. So he had his cousins just lived a block down, the Solomons. And they would come over and play music. My mother told me these stories.
Cousin Vincenzo, a tailor by trade, was also an accomplished violinist.
The family had tragedy. My great-grandfather was killed in 1916, hit by a train working on the railroad track. My grandfather Luigi suddenly passed away in 1938. My grandmother was now widowed. She had the responsibility of managing the grocery store and being a landlady, and it was a tremendous burden that she had, but she was very strong-willed, and she managed it during the Depression.
Marion persevered and married again to this dapper fellow.
And her second husband, who to me was my grandfather, Marino Nave. But my first grandfather was first cousins to my second grandfather, so my grandmother did not have to change her last name.
Fast forward a generation and meet John. The newest Newark Nave was a childhood acquaintance of his third cousin Louise in Syracuse. And figure this, eventually number 3 became number 1.
They are married, which is a tradition in many Italian families. My family, Nave, Romano, Salmo, they married with each other.
And of course, 2 became 3. And they lived at 404.
They had that place for probably 50 years. My grandparents was a hangout because they sold soda, so all the kids gravitated there in the summer months.
You know, today kids were go in and steal stuff. You didn't dare go in that store and try. She had 6 eyes in the back of her head, you know.
Every few blocks had like a little grocery store. And I knew so many of them because that's where I would go buy candy that my grandmother didn't have. I had them all mapped out. I would never bring the candy home because I made that mistake once.
I remember as a child the chimes. I would be upstairs in the second floor in my grandparents' bedroom, and it was noisy. Eastern Ambulance was across the street. So any time of the day or night.
And then down the hill, where 81, you would see 81 today, the railroads, that's where New York Central went, and you'd hear the trains through the night.
It was curving along. You could see people inside those cars.
The neighborhood where I was in was constant kids. Down the hill when you got to Pearl Street, there wasn't only Columbus Bakery, but there was a place where they used to process chickens.
For new arrivals in the neighborhood, employment was just steps away. So when Marino Nave's brother and brother-in-law emigrated from Italy,
and they got jobs at Nettleton Shoes, shoemakers. My cousin Fiorina, who came from Casalduini, Italy, she worked for many years for St. Joseph's Hospital in the linen department or sewing. My cousins get a job at Lurie, being a seamstress. So I learned a lot from Grandma because I spent a lot of time with her. I used to watch my grandmother in the grocery store. She interacted with people.
One day, a traveling salesman came in the store selling silverware.
You know, went on and on and on. Like, that's nice, and that's nice. I can't remember. That's nice. I don't want, thank you. Now, as soon as he leaves, she grabs me and goes, "Hey, Marina, what am I going to do with that? Come here. What? You see that? What I got? Huh? I got the knife, I got the spoon and fork. Go up the stairs. I got the spoon and fork. Huh? What, if I feed an army?"
Well, my grandmother was, I think, a pretty serious woman. She just wanted to work.
So I would see these guys coming in with a coat. They'd go to Angel Laurel's, getting loaded.
She wasn't much for going out.
I know I don't have the money to pay you, but could I have 25 cents of bologna? I'm out of money.
She took a half an hour to watch the evening news. That was it.
I can't do it.
And I think it was a tribute.
I can't do it.
You know, it's just amazing what she accomplished.
She says to me, "You see, I had the money to get drunk."
When you think of a single woman who was a widow during the Depression, having 3 children.
They have a few beers and all this. They want to buy beer. Why don't they buy it from me?
And what she did to run that store.
And she said to me, "Don't let anyone ever make a fool out of you."
The 2 oldest, she put them through college, both locally.
And she grabbed me right to my face. You understand?
And she was very loving.
Don't let anyone make a fool out of you.
And very caring.
They don't make a fool out of Grandma.
And she had other properties, too.
And she grabbed me right to my face. You understand?
And it set a tremendous example.
And that was Mariannina.